Welcome to the Procedural Worlds podcast. This is episode 2, and I'm Rand Lieb-Dutoit, one of the co-founders at Procedural Worlds, together with Adam Goodrich. Say hi, Adam.
Hey, how's it going?
Our podcast focuses on the intersection between games and business, art and science. In this episode, we'll talk about the latest release of Gaia, which is 1.7. We'll also talk a little bit about the next version of Gaia, 2.0, which is highly anticipated. We'll also talk about the Unity Asset Store Advisory Board, connecting to Procedural Worlds via our Discord community, and how our community is helping itself. So stay tuned for an exciting episode. We've just released version 1.7 of Gaia, and that's now sitting at 1.72 with a few tweaks. So could you talk through the thinking behind going from where we were to where we are with 1.7?
Sure. So it's been a while since we've updated Gaia, and we've been very busy building tools like origami, and we're just about to embark on the next major iteration of Gaia. And this was the next major iteration is essentially a rewrite from the ground up. And what I wanted to do was give the community some of the work we've already done in version 2 of Gaia, and bring forward some of the really, really powerful processing capabilities we've added to Gaia, so that it creates a bit of a buffer for us to take our time to get Gaia 2 right, and also is a very, very nice update for people who are using Gaia already.
And can you talk through some of the various new features that have gone into 1.7?
The new features in Gaia 1.7, it's actually a pretty massive release. We've brought forward a bunch of the speed optimizations we did in tools like Gina, for example. So now when you spawn trees, they're probably 10 times faster. I brought forward a bunch of the underlying math optimizations I did in Gaia 2, and they're now sitting inside of Gaia 1.7, so general terrain manipulation is faster. We brought in a whole bunch of new content, so we now have some awesome low poly content from Cinti Studios. We have some amazing and beautiful textures and also CTS profiles from Nature Manufacture. So this gives you the ability to generate more and interesting environments with Gaia 1.7. We've also brought in a whole bunch of new automatic configurations for things like mobile and VR, ultra lightweight terrain setups. We've brought in some new camera setups, so you can do a fly camera, you can do the third person controller, all things that are just make things easier and more convenient as you're building your applications. And there's more. There's a lot. There's plenty more inside of Gaia 2 as well. The other major thing we brought in is support for Unity 2018 and the lightweight scriptable rendering pipeline. We've added in provisional support for the high definition scriptable rendering pipeline. We're just waiting for Unity to come online with terrain support. So there's a massive amount of capability just there. But probably the most interesting, and I find the most exciting new feature we brought into Gaia 1.7 is the terrain utilities system. Once you've created your base terrain, then you use these utilities to do interesting operations. So now we can do thermal and hydraulic and flow-based erosion. We can do things like terracing. We've got all sorts of noise generation modules, and then also mask and image manipulation modules, so you can mix together masks and noise and do really interesting things like, I would like to apply some terraces to my terrain, but only on low-lying flat areas. I want my mountains to look great. Oh, I want to mix the noise with my mountains to make my mountains more interesting and dynamic. So these new terrain utilities give you the ability to take the basic terrain, which is set up with the stamping system, and to expand on it in any way you like. And I personally find this stuff super interesting to play with. So, for example, you're making a game. You want your interesting mountain in the distance, something to draw the player towards the mountain, but you also want relatively flat areas to have good gameplay. But at the same time, you want a bit of height and a bit of interest in your terrain. So doing things like, I want to have a mask that selects for low flat areas, or first of all, I'll create some terracing, and now I've got this flat plane, but I want to make that plane interesting, so I'll mask for it. Then I'll mix in some billow noise or some purlin noise to enhance that terrain. And actually what I was working on just then, which will come out in the 1.72 release, is the ability to do even more powerful and interesting operations in that image processing. So the sample stuff I'm doing is I'm going to Google Earth and I'm getting a satellite image of a little town or a little farming village. Then I'm mixing that satellite imagery using the mask tools in the terrain utilities to essentially apply that certain structure that I've gotten out of Google Earth into the environments you're creating. So I'm currently at the Vatican City and I've got this really interesting city layout. So the test sample that I'm doing is how can I apply that city layout to low-lying areas around the base of my mountain? So this ability to mix and match different environments to create the environment for your game, I think is super fun and super powerful and makes for really interesting gameplay.
So Adam, how would I learn to use these new terrain utility features?
Good question, Rand. What we're doing is we've embarked on a whole suite of new tutorials for Gaia 1.7, and they're in the process of coming online now. And inside of Gaia 1.7, one of the other great new advances we've made is a lot of the user interface now has clickable areas where you click on it and it jumps straight to our tutorials. And the video tutorials are a great way to learn how to use the new features.
We've had some frequently asked questions from various users. One of them being, can we expect multi-terrain support in this 1.7 release?
Yes, and the answer would be no. However, we've had multi-terrain support running on the GPU since May last year, and those features will be coming in Gaia 2.
And another question we had is, will it be possible to upgrade existing terrains to the new Gaia version, or would we have to start that part over?
You can use Gaia on any existing terrain already, so you won't have to start again, everything will just work.
Another question we've got is, when can we expect Gaia 2.0 to hit the market?
A good question. We've done some what we think is pretty incredible work with origami. We completely changed the paradigm for procedurally generating content, and we allow you to easily control and influence how that content is generated. So to answer the question, what we're doing is we're actually working on origami and Gaia 2 in parallel. And the idea will be that Gaia 2 will be API controlled as well as nice user interfaces, so it'll support the artist and the programmer. And origami will plug into Gaia 2 via those APIs. So it's going to take us a while. There's some pretty significant changes in Gaia 2 and then more significant changes required to add origami support for it. But the end result out of all of that is you'll have Gaia 2, which will be incredibly powerful, multi-tile. For those that want to pay the additional amount, then you'll have pluggable GPU options as well, and essentially infinite real-time terrain generation. And then you'll have this origami system sitting on top of it, allowing you to have a huge amount of control over what gets created. So I haven't got a fixed timeline for that, purely because there's a significant amount of work that still needs to be done. And also, it's a massive rewrite. Gaia 2 is essentially a complete rewrite from the ground up of Gaia.
Would we be able to pin it down to 2018, or is it going to be something potentially for next year?
Definitely 2018.
I don't think users would want to hold you to that as long as we know that we've got something incredible coming down the pipe. I think users will be very, very excited by that.
Yeah, that was actually one of the reasons for making such a massive upgrade in Gaia 1.7. I wanted to give people incredible tools and give ourselves the time to get Gaia 2 right. We have some very big ambitions for where we want to take the company into the real world, for example, and you need to have the underlying infrastructure just right to be able to do that. And so what we're doing with Gaia 2 is we're taking that time to get it right.
Changing tack a little bit from Gaia and the products, you are now a member of the Unity Asset Store Advisory Board. Are you able to talk a little bit about what's involved with that, how that's benefiting customers, and who else is on that board?
Sure. So the Asset Store Board is a really interesting initiative from Unity to provide a voice or a dialogue between a range of very different publishers and Unity. It's like a sounding board. And we have artists, we have leaders of art assets, we have the leaders of some of the software-based assets, like ourselves, for example, a whole range of different publishers. And we've had one meeting so far. It was a really awesome meeting. It went way over time. It's very difficult to get people from all around the globe to together in one time zone. The dialogue was really interesting. I can't speak about the details because part of the deal there is it's under a non-disclosure agreement. I think what we found was that Unity was really open. Where they'd made mistakes, they admitted them. And I found it really interesting that Unity is actively investing in this space. They're growing the team significantly, and this is something that I think is very encouraging for us as publishers, and also should be for the community as well, because Unity gets the value of the asset store and is investing. And I also found the initiatives that they have in their roadmap for 2018 to be really interesting. Some of the feedback we gave them around the frequency and the type of communication they have with the publisher community, I think, was taken on board, and we're starting to see changes as a result of that. So there has been some dialogue in the publisher forums about Unity's not changing fast enough and yada, yada, yada. And my opinion of that is this Unity is this quite large ship now, and it's really hard when you're balancing all sorts of different parts of the business and the demands that come from that. Technical challenges, technical limitations and constraints, business challenges, business constraints. So what I can see is Unity are changing the course of the ship, but it's really, really nice to see that happening.
Procedural Worlds has recently been involved with a Unity campaign around the pro version of Unity. Are there any insights that we can share as a result of that?
Yes, so Unity, as an incentive to sign up to their Plus and Pro subscriptions, Unity will give away certain assets. So tools like Gaia, where you've got a market leader asset, then they will offer that up for free. And what's been interesting for us is that they've promoted Gaia to a huge, huge audience globally. It's really interesting to watch the impact on the traffic and the stats. And then we've signed up a lot of new users of Gaia. So it's been a really interesting process. Another part of that whole program is then Unity give you the opportunity to get more heavily involved. So as a result of that, we're also going to Unite in Berlin next month. And I'll be doing a talk on procedural generation on the first day, where I'll bring together all of these tools and some of the new ones that are coming through. And we'll also have a booth at Unite as well. Another interesting flow on from that is we're working with their evangelists and the Unity user group. So next week we'll also be doing a talk on Gaia to several thousand people through this program. So it's been really, really cool for us, and I think it's a great thing for the community as well.
You talked about getting a whole lot more users coming on board with Gaia. Where is the best place for them to connect into the broader Procedural Worlds community?
If you've got Gaia and you go into your More tab, you can link through to our Discord community. And we started up our Discord server probably a month and a half ago, and we're already sitting at over 300 users the last time I looked. So that's becoming very active now. It's a great place to come and ask questions of other people. It's a great place to show off your work, to get feedback. We share useful links with the community, and the community shares useful links. And then it's also a great place to come and ask us. If you've got a quick question, we can generally get back to you. That would be the best way to get to us. If you actually want an answer from us, specifically, because we do get a lot of communications daily now, then we've got a support system which you can also register a support request through. It's in the more part of the Gaia Manager user interface. Click through to that and you can lodge a request for us, and we respond to every single one of those requests, usually within 24 to 48 hours.
Great. I suppose the thinking behind the Discord community or network is that it's not only Procedural Worlds and Adam trying to get back to everybody within the 24/7 time frame, but it's the community helping other members of the community as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really interesting to observe how our community has built up around the tools that we deliver to the community. And one of the other things we've done with our Discord channel is we also have a section for all of our partners. So our partners are other publishers where we've either included their content with Gaia or we've integrated their product with Gaia. So you'll see people like Thrawn/Connect come in, and Nature Manufacture, and some of the other publishers like TurboScale Pearl in their own channels within our Discord server. You can actually ask these other publishers questions as well. So it's a great way not only to connect with us, but also to see what else you can easily enable through the Gaia extensions, and then to interact with those publishers as well.
Thank you for listening to episode 2 of the Procedural Worlds podcast.